first, thanks everyone for coming. Welcome to Delano Academy's Parent Roundtable. Those of you who are new and investigating, you have shortlisted Delano Academy as one of your choices in private education. And today, you have the opportunity, sorry, I'm doing this, I'm like pointing to people that I can't actually see. It's a teacher habit. You have the opportunity to speak to some of our returning and new families so you can gain insights into a parent's perspective of what life is like in the Delano community. So I want to take this time to introduce our parent panelists and the leadership team. So today with us, we have 4 parents and 3 members of the leadership team. One is myself. My name is Mr. Ashfield. You might recognize me from the video introducing the school or from picking up your kids in the morning and giving them back to you safe at the end of the day. At Delano, I'm part of the leadership and admissions team, but also the IB coordinator for the PYP, which is the younger division, and the MYP. So we go from kindergarten to grade 5 and then grade 6 to grade 10. Joining me today is, oh, it's so awkward. I want to say on the top left, but it may not be for you. Joining me today is Mr. Wilkinson, our Director of Operations. And also with us is Mrs. Palumbo, who's our head of school. Thanks for waving so everybody knows in case they're not reading the titles. And I would like to introduce our parent panelists, please. Today we have Ms. Brovieri. Ms. Brovieri has 2 sons attending Delano for the past 5 years since we opened. One child is in grade 3 this year, and her oldest is in grade 7. Our second parent panelist is Ms. Bruner. She has 1 son attending Delano for the past 3 years, and her son is in grade 6. So those, you've got 2 different cohort voices there. They can let you know what it's like in the for the younger students and for some of our older students. Our third panelist is Ms. Pascale Leger. Ms. Leger has 1 daughter attending Delano. She's new to Delano, arriving this year, and her daughter is in grade 6. So another senior cohort perspective. And our final parent panelist is Ms. Tavernese. Ms. Tavernese has a daughter attending also in grade 6 at Delano. She's also new to Delano, arriving this year. And we have a double whammy with her because she's also an intermediate and senior teacher at Delano. So you'll have a chance to hear perspectives from both directions, as it were, and across cohorts. I'm going to give you a quick summary of our format. Tonight, each parent will have the opportunity to respond to the questions. We're going to each take turns. So the same question will be posed to each of our panelists. So you'll have a chance, if you're not first, to take notes, edit your response. Sorry, I'm still in teacher mode. Yeah, and if you weren't thinking of an answer, you have a chance to crib things from the people who go before you. No, don't do that. There is also the possibility of posing questions that come to you as we go along in the chat panel. You'll just need to locate that down along the bottom. They will go directly, I believe, to our Zoom master, Mr. Wilkinson, who will collate them. And if you want a particular panelist to answer them, please include that for him so that we can forward it to the appropriate person, and they'll have a chance to think about your question seriously and give you an answer that will be meaningful. We will go to those questions at the end of the event, like I said, and it's particularly important for me. We'll try to honor everyone's time and not go for hours and hours and hours, which I would gladly do. So I'm going to start with Ms. Brovieri, if you don't mind. And I'll ask the first question of you, and then the others will have their turn to give their perspective on it. Ms. Brovieri, could you tell us, why did you choose this school originally? And I'll need to remind everybody, double check that you're not on mute.
Hi, And also
I've
that
been,
recorded.
am I on mute? You can hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, I've been with Delano Academy, my two boys, like Mr. Ashfield said, for 5 years. I chose Delano Academy just because I believe when I was looking for a school that we were looking for a very enriched program, and education was my #1 priority for my boys. And I wanted them to be comfortable in their environment that they go to. And the teachers that I got to meet when we were looking at the school were very open and friendly, and you felt like you were part of a family. How do I say? What else can I say? Until this day, I feel that they still offer that.
It's okay.
That's nice.
You want to take a break? You feel that's enough? You feel that's enough for now? Okay, yeah. Thanks. Thanks so much. So, as we said, I'm going to pass that question on to our next panelist, who is Ms. Bruner. So, Ms. Bruner, if you don't mind, please, why did you choose this school originally?
So my son is in grade 6 and 7 this year, and we didn't have the easiest of journeys with him. We knew at a very young age that he was profoundly gifted. And with that came a lot of challenges. He got kicked out of daycares, he got kicked out of public school. We were at a different private school previously, and they didn't hold up to the promises that they had made to us. And so he was becoming behavioral and was a very angry child. And the first time I met with the school, I didn't get resistance from that. Instead, I got acceptance, and they understood who my kid was. They knew, just like I did, that if you solve the academic problem, then the social and emotional issues can be dealt with just as easily. A lot of the times, the social and emotional kind of acts up because the academics aren't satisfied. And so we were looking for a place that not only would go out with their curriculum, but also up. And so they did. My son's first year, he was in grade 4 for a couple classes, and then this year he is in grade 7 for most of his classes and grade 6 for a few of his classes. But it was that acceptance that really brought us to this school. It felt like coming home. It felt like coming to a place where they just got you, and not only understood my kid, but understood the struggle of the entire family. And it continues to be this safe place, this place where he can be himself, either on a good day or a bad day, because he does have his bad days. And I'm getting nods, lovely. And he's understood and he's accepted. And it's home for all of us, not just him.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you feel that way. I should have reminded everybody this is being recorded, not for any other reason than we can go back and we can revisit if you felt you missed an answer. It can be made available. Thanks so much, Ms. Bruner. I would like to now pose the same question to Ms. Pascal Lager, please. What made you or helped you choose this school originally?
So I would summarize that, I guess, in 3 points. First is the right fit. Second is the advanced curriculum. And then third is the French and English. So by the right fit, my daughter has been fortunate and blessed to have a really positive journey through the educational system so far. No drama, no trauma, no issues, really good relationships and friendships. And as I looked at transitioning her to a new school, I had to make the right choice so that would keep going. So if this was do or die, I had to make the right choice, because this was going to be the period, very critical years in terms of her growth and development. And I was particularly careful in my choice because we're a Black family. And I'm not familiar with the private sector, private school sector in Ontario or the GTA. And I had some fears and apprehensions about that because I wanted to make sure that she would be welcomed and accepted, but in a seamless way, that it wouldn't be hard or difficult. And I have found that at Delano, and I'm so happy about that. The curriculum, I mean, it speaks for itself. There is so much there. But really, for me, I don't know what the future holds. I don't think any of us do. But what I do know is today, what I wanted to do is put my child in a position where they would get the best of everything so that they could be ready for any and everything. And then I saw the curriculum offered at Delano, and it spoke to me in those terms, that I know that this is the gift, the investment that I'm making so that she will be ready for whatever the future holds. So that's the second reason. And the third, the French and English happens to be important in my case. I'm Francophone from Montreal. My parents are from Haiti, which is a French-speaking country. So French is part of our culture. So it's a given that there had to be at least a French component to the education that I gave my kids. So those, I would say, are the main three reasons why I chose Delano.
Oh, thanks. So some of these things I don't actually know. Normally I would, but with COVID, I don't have that chat time with all of you that I would normally get to have, right? So I appreciate that. I appreciate this a lot. Thanks. If we can go to our next panelist, Ms. Tavernese. Why did you choose this school for your daughter? I mean, I know it's a double layered question, but.
It is. It is, but first and foremost, I just want to say that I definitely made the right choice. Otavia has never. I'm going to start getting emotional. Wow. Okay, hold on a minute. My daughter has never been happier, and she's finally out of school where she's challenged in certain areas that she absolutely needed to be challenged in a good way, and also emotionally and peer-wise. And as we know, the last year has been exceptionally difficult, particularly for our children, with the lockdown and everything else that they're trying to process around that. Mentally, she desperately needed something like this. And I think I'm mostly affected by everyone saying the word family. And it's overwhelming in such a beautiful way that Delano is truly a family, and she needs that. So scholastically, she's getting it. Peer-wise, she's getting it. Mentally and psychologically, she's getting it. It's really an incredible program. And I'm not just saying that because I teach there. So on the next note, because I teach there, I can truly say that it's just a really strong program in every way. And it's such an incredible team as well, just to throw that in.
Awesome, thanks. I'm really appreciating the openness and honesty. I just wanted to, just a word of caution, because we're talking about minor children. I know we all want to brag about our kids, but let's try to remember not to name names, just to protect their privacy, because they're little ones. So, but that's not to upbraid anybody, just a reminder. Not because I could go on all day. Thanks so much. We're going to move to the next question, and we're going to go down through the list again, so everyone will have a chance to think about it. Ms. Provieri, I would like to ask if you could answer, please. In what ways is Delano what you expected? And in what ways is it not what you expected? You'll have to think back. Oh, can't hear you. There you go.
Am I going back to the first question?
No, it's a new question now. So
The second question.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you can think for us,
Yes.
in what ways is the school exactly what you expected, like as you spoke earlier, but in what ways is it unexpected? And however you want to answer that.
So my boys have become very independent, and I think Delano Academy has a lot to do with that. in the way that we all know our kids spend 90% of their time at school. They're hardly ever home. They're always at school. And I think that has a lot to do with the school itself and the teachers and everybody that works there, how my boys, including every other child that goes there, have developed. And I think.
Is that what you expected? Or
Is this what I expected? I think looking at where they're at now, because I was one of the first parents to come there, I think that you guys have exceeded my expectations right now. You guys are awesome. And I think, yeah, you guys are great and the kids love it and you could see it. And it makes a big difference.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. Sometimes I have to think, I have to like take a breath myself with some of these answers. Ms. Bruner, if you could give your perspective on this. Is the school what you expected it to be, and in what ways is it not?
So I expected the second year to be a little bit challenging, because that's generally how my kids' MO is with schools. And it wasn't. The staff, all of the faculty, the administration and the teachers and everyone respected him, and they would speak with him with respect, and they would understand that sometimes he's not his biological age, he's either older or younger, and they were very adept at recognizing which age kid they were talking to. And sometimes that would switch mid-sentence, and they were just able to adapt to that. And that continues to this day. And that still far exceeds my expectation. I didn't realize that teachers and staff could care as much as they do, not just about the academics, but about the whole child, everything about that child. I also really appreciate how in class the curriculum sometimes is a little bit controversial, in that they'll speak about news items. This year, for example, he came home talking about the WE scandal, and they were reflecting on that. They've spoken about Black Lives Matter, and they've done, through studying the holidays, they don't just do the big ones, they do all of them. And it's about respecting everyone and learning that there are things in your life that are beyond your own nose. And they talk about that stuff, and they do it respectfully, and they do it very age appropriately, but they address them. And that, again, still, it exceeded my expectations when we started in grade 3, and it still far exceeds my expectations. What the school isn't is snooty. With private school comes this, I don't know, for Delano, it is a completely false mentality of snootiness and private school behaviors, and parents are frou-frou and all of these kinds of things. And they're just not. I very routinely come to school in sweatpants and very disheveled, and my day has gone crazy, and they don't care. Not only does the staff not care, the other parents don't care. Often the other parents look just as disheveled as me. That's what today was. And it's all good. You see, like, all the parents are laughing, because it's true. We are a very down-to-earth bunch of parents who just want the best for our kids. And so that was pleasantly surprising.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that answer. And Ms. Pascal Leger, if I can pass that question on to you now, in what ways has the school met your expectations? In what ways has it perhaps not, or gone beyond? I don't know.
So I mean, many things have impressed me, but the one thing that stood out specifically from my daughter's perspective is how many students she knows. One of the biggest hesitations for my daughter to move to a new school was, what about friends? Friends. I'm going to lose my friends. How am I going to make friends? And wow, every day she has come to me and mentions new names of new students that she's engaged with and met. And that has absolutely exceeded my expectations because she has friends not just in her class, but also in other grades that are part of her cohort. And I find that absolutely fantastic. So that's one way I think that my expectations have been exceeded, that she's adjusted really well, in large part because of that.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Ms. Tavernese, can I pass this question on to you?
Yes.
Is the school what you expected, and in what ways perhaps is it not?
Delightfully so, yes, it is what I expected, but it has also exceeded my expectations in that because it's a small school, it's nice to see that students have a very close tie with not only their peers, as Ms. Pascal Lager said, but also with their teachers, right? And the adults who are there. And I think Ms. Bruner also touched on that as well, that, you know, the relationships are closely tied, and not only that, but they're not allowed to get away with anything, but it's done in a very respectful way. And because they are young, they're very young, and they're still learning how to behave in a society and what that means, right? So I think it's a perfect setup because you're not dealing with an extremely large school to the point where they get lost, right? They don't get lost in the herd. And it's recognized and it's called upon immediately. So there's always nipping in the bud. There's never, anything is allowed to go past. So that I appreciate. The other thing that I think is remarkable to me, and it's purely on the students, it has nothing to do with teachers or otherwise, is that I'm amazed by these children coming out of a pandemic and how well they're doing, considering, number one, and number two, that they all play with each other. They're all involved with each other's lives. They're so in tune with each other. And unfortunately, of course, we have to divide the school into two different cohorts. But their cohort, they're so tight. They are so closely related to one another. And it's really exciting to see. It doesn't matter if they're in grade 6, 7, or 8. They're very closely tied. So I think on a social level, there's something that we don't always recognize as being so profoundly important. And they're doing it naturally. So kudos to them too. But yeah.
Oh, that's a great answer. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, we, in case that detail slipped or people have forgotten, we have divided the school into cohorts so that we can keep a cap on the numbers. We can try to mitigate, right, the interactions, because schooling is so important, but we don't want to throw caution to the wind either. So that's what she means by we have separate cohorts, and it gives us. I teach also. It gives us the opportunity to really understand the students we've been loaned, and we can flow with them. Flow, that sounded kind of weird. We can just move in and out with it in their needs, as Ms. Brunner was saying too. So I appreciate that. I wanted to just add on to, I know that's not my spot, but I can't resist. Yes, did you want to add something before we move on, Ms. Tavernese?
Yes, which I can appreciate these both as a parent and a teacher, and that is that from a teacher's perspective, we can shift very easily in a class, or we have the freedom to shift very easily in a class and tailor the class to each individual's needs, right? So for example, at the beginning of the year, you always do an assessment and you try to figure out where students are in your class. And I noticed in my class that some students were not challenged enough. So, that's at the point where you step it up for some and you and you make sure that you maintain a very solid level for others. And how can you do that, and how can they work with each other? So you make the students who are needing more to be more challenged, allow them to take a leadership role. So it's kind of exciting to see as well.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad I didn't move on before you had a chance to add that in. We're going to cycle through again. Are you ready, Ms. Barbieri? I have another question for you.
I'm ready.
All right. So the next question we would like to hear your perspective on is, what do you think is the biggest impact that the school has had on your child? If it's possible to add anything to your enormous praise already, what's the biggest impact that the school has had on your children, do you think?
I have to tell you that even when there's no school, my kids ask, can they go to school? That's how much they love Delano.
Really?
Yes. And you know what? I thought the pandemic would have, like, when they were online, they would have been done. It would have been like, oh my God, my kids are, but you know what? You guys were so awesome with them that every morning they get up and run downstairs and open the computer and be, okay, I got to go. Miss Palumbo's going to open and Mr. Wilkinson's going to be there. Mr. Ashley, I got to get to school. And I'm like, what is going on? And they were so excited. They go out and tell everybody what an awesome school, what great teachers, what great friends. It's like they have a big family and they love the work, even though they say it's challenging, but that's what makes it so great, because they listen to their friends talk about their schools and they're like, you don't know what you're missing. You need to come to Delano, because what we do there is so much more exciting and different and unique. And when I listen to my kids, I'm like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? And they're like, Mom, I'm just telling everybody how great this school is. And that's the way they feel about it.
Oh, I love to hear that. Ms. Bruner, how would you describe the biggest impact the school has had on your child?
So I would say that the biggest impact actually happened during the pandemic. Last year, my son got pretty sick, and he was pretty sick during the whole year. And when school shut down, he actually got sicker at that point. And the only thing in his life that was stable was, excuse me, was school. And he had to miss quite a bit, but it was actually easier being online because he could miss one class and then log back in for the rest of his day as he needed to rest. And it wasn't an overwhelming amount of work to catch up on, but it was the stability and the mental wellness that was picked up that the school started during the pandemic, aside from just the focus and the routine of being in school. And that has kept him, he's now much better. And you wouldn't really even know that he is sick at this point. And when they did come back to in person, he was just welcomed back into the fold. It was as if he didn't miss a day, and he was running and he was able to keep up with his friends, and there was no comments. There was nothing to make him feel bad about anything. It was just back to normal. And that the pandemic was really hard on him, mental health, because he was also dealing with a pretty significant illness. And just, again, it all comes back to coming home and school and the routine and the familiarity and the expectations that he knew. He didn't know what to expect with the pandemic, and he didn't know what to expect about his health, and his world was falling apart except for school. And that really had an impact on him and on all of us. It kept us all on a routine. My other kids were home, and we kind of kept our routine going, the same as Delano's, and it gave us all stability during that time.
Wow, fantastic. Ms. Pascal Leger, would you be able to pick?
Yes.
A biggest impact?
Yeah. So again, my daughter is a new student to the school. So I would say the biggest impact so far is that the school has created so many opportunities for her to make friends and to start feeling like she belongs in the school or in her class, in a cohort, in a house team. And I see the difference every day, every week, that she really is now feeling like she has a place there. And this is all thanks to the great work that the Delano team has done, that they've created so many opportunities for that to happen. So far, that is probably the biggest impact that I'm seeing for a brand new student coming into the school.
Oh, thanks. Ms. Tavernese, would you be able to describe a biggest impact that the school has had on your child?
I think the biggest impact is that she's so excited to go to school now. That's monumental for us. Prior to her coming here, she was just kind of just not seen, lost. She was lost in the class, right? And she needed that challenge. She needed that challenge to rise. She rises to competition, but in a healthy way, in sort of a healthy, balanced way for a 10-year-old, right? Yeah, and she just really needed that. It lights up her day. So that's the biggest.
That's great.
challenge I saw.
Thanks. We're going to move on to another question. So you ready? Ms. Bravieri, what does, you've touched on this before, but maybe it'd be good to come back to this. What do your children say about the school that, I mean, you already kind of touched on it. Would you want to add anything to what do the kids say about it?
Is this question number 4? Is this the next question, right?
Yeah, we went on to the next one. It should be the third. Yeah, it's about the third.
Yeah.
So, no, the fourth. You're right.
So the
Maybe-
the 3 words that they would describe the school to be, is that your question?
No, not yet.
No, so where are you at?
Just the one before that.
Did I skip one?
No. You didn't.
So what's your question, please?
You pretty much answered this already. But would
Okay, so you want me to elaborate?
Would you add anything or no? To like you already talked about how your kids talk about the school, right? I'm just wondering if you felt you needed to add anything. It was pretty.
I'm gonna say something that I was thinking that I'll touch on it just a little bit.
Sure.
What makes Delano different from other schools too, I think, and that's why my kids love it so much, is, there's a lot of kids that go to these big schools and have a lot of students in a class, which is great. It's good for some students, it's not good for all. But I think that's what sets you guys apart also. Obviously, we want Delano to grow much bigger, but my kids, and I believe other kids too, because my boys talk all the time and say, what makes you guys so special is that the connection that you guys have and the size that you are right now is so unique to every individual that you guys know so much about every single child that comes there. And they love that, and you cater to everybody and everyone's needs.
Oh, thanks.
No.
Ms. Bruner, would you add anything to what does your child say about the school?
What does he say? He's a 10-year-old boy. It's fine.
Yeah.
The response that he gets.
That sounds about right, yeah.
It's fine. It's more what he doesn't say. He is up and ready to go in his uniform, bag is packed, everything before I come downstairs. He comes home and logs in and does his homework before I have the chance to ask, do you have any homework today? It's the car ride home and him voluntarily telling me about what he did at recess, who he hung out with, what was discussed in science class or in history class, or what current event is getting discussed in language class, what the assignments are. It's the voluntary information that speaks more volumes to me than when I say, how was your day today? Well, it was fine, is the response that
Eesh.
that.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome. I appreciate that. Ms. Pascal Leger,
Yeah,
what does your child say?
so I concur with both of the parents who provided some input to that question. So just to maybe explain my own way, on the first day of school, I was very nervous, obviously, and it was a half day. So when I picked up my daughter and I was anxious to see what she had to say, and I let her talk, and she did a lot of just telling me a lot of different things that had happened, and all of it sounded really positive. So I'm like, okay, this is good. And I waited and waited for the, what didn't you like? And I specifically asked her, and she had nothing to say. This was after spending half of the day at the school on the first day. That evening, she told my husband and I voluntarily, you know what, I can't wait to go back tomorrow.
Wow.
After spending half a day, I was practically in tears because I didn't know what to expect because this was such an important transition for her. And ever since that day, I have been trying every which way, trying to rephrase my question in so many different ways. And the answer is a blank. I cannot get from her anything that she does not like. And I have asked and I've tried and blank.
Wow. Wow. It's about all, yeah, wow.
I feel the same way. Wow. Mommy
Yeah,
did good.
that's great. Okay, thanks. That's good to know. Ms. Tavernese, what would you say your child says about the school?
Mostly about the social aspect, and she discusses how much she loves her teacher. But it is usually about the students in the classroom, which is monumental for her, right? It's really big for her, especially after having more than half a year not being with other students. So really, it's all the above. It's all the above. And in some ways, it is what Ms. Bruner said as well, which is it's what she doesn't say as well. Right? There's never, I never hear a complaint about the school. I never hear a complaint about the teacher. I never hear a complaint about other students. I just don't hear it.
That's neat.
She's very expressive, so she would say that. She would tell me.
You would.
Yes.
Oh, I don't think she'd be afraid of telling you. If something was upsetting her, I think I would hear about it. So that's fantastic. Thanks. We're going to move to the next question, which I have to admit is my favorite. I can't wait to get the answers. And please stick to the terms of the question. Ms. Brovieri, if the school were represented as a person, so imagine they're a real life person, well, what would the school's personality be like in 3 words?
Positive.
Not 3 words tied together in a sentence, just 3 words.
No, positive, leader, and motivator.
Ooh. Nice. I'm glad I'm recording this so I don't miss any of it. Ms. Bruner, 3 words.
Accommodating, welcoming, and risk taker.
Woo. Got the IB language in there. Love it. Ms. Pascal Leger, what 3 words would you choose?
Authentic, fun, and approachable.
Nice. Ms. Tavernese, what 3 words have you got for me?
Innovative, exciting, and I was going to say risk-taking as well.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay. It just confirms that.
Inviting.
Nice. That's great to hear. As someone who works there, right? I can often get focused on, other things, the curriculum and safety of the kids, and this is fantastic for me to be able to sit and just listen for a change instead of, and then here I am start talking again. Let's go to the last one that we have on our list, and I know we have at least one other question that we're going to go to after that, and then we'll see where we go from there. Ms. Brovieri, we're back to you. How would you describe the values of the school and the values of the families in the school community?
Well, this is a tough one, but I'm just going to answer. It's not, I'm just going to answer how I think that the values of the school and the parents, what we get through Delano Academy is you guys are setting them up, whether they stay till grade 8 or move on to grade 12, is basically you guys are setting them up to what life is going to be when they leave, what the next step is. Through the learning and the teaching with technology and all the programs that you guys have to offer. I just feel that they get that.
Wow, I'm glad. Thanks. Ms. Bruner, how would you describe the values of the school?
You mentioned it earlier when you mentioned the IB traits. I think the school lives and breathes them. And it is in the forefront of every conversation and every lesson and every interaction, but it is also in the background of just the way that everybody, just the air that is breathed in that building, and it is even more safe air this year, just FYI.
You say HEPA filtered
New
air?
ventilations, new HEPA, new everything this year. But it's just, it's almost a living and breathing organism, these IB traits. You instill them in these kids, and it becomes about the whole child, not about one aspect of them. It is about forward thinking and gaining knowledge and caring and thoughtfulness and all of those traits that we all want for our kids, but sometimes we aren't the best parents, aren't the best teachers at instilling them. And that's where teachers and staff come in. And that kind of leads into the families. We all want the best for our kids. We are all, we're pretty frank about our kids too. We tend to know that while they are all great children, they are not perfect, and there are things in their lives that they all need some help with. And we all, I mean, we're all moms on here, but we mama bear and we papa bear, and we go and find the best place to get the best out of our kids. And we all have that in common. Cool. And it lives and breathes in the building, even when we're not physically in the building, which parents aren't this year. I still feel it. I still feel that connection. That hasn't changed pre-COVID. So there you go.
I'm glad to hear that. Thanks. Ms. Pascal Leger, how
So,
might you describe the values of the school?
well, it's that amazing balance of valuing the child, each child, their known, their names, who they are. And that for a child is so comforting, knowing that they matter and really feeling it. But that doesn't trump the collective. You know, you're part of a house team, you're part of a class. There's the respect that you have to have for each other. You have to learn how to coexist. You're all important, but you're also individually, but also as a group. And that is in such alignment with me and my family and the way that we value our kids, but also I don't just care about my kids. I care about the kids in the community, in the neighborhood, in the schools as well, because I want all of them to do well. And I find that Delano showing such an incredible balance between these two complementary sets of values. And I really, really like that.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Ms. Tavernese. What would you say about the values of the school or the values of the families?
I think I'd like to say like a culmination of sort of what everybody has said, but it really lives true. It's not just, it's not lip service. It's really true. And it's very incorporated into the very fibers of all of Delano. And that is that, you know, prepping them for global citizenship. And again, it goes along with Ms. Pascal Lager, where they're being trained to be life learners, and they're being helped to love learning, right? And but that sets them up for success. So it's prepping them for the very next steps. Because if you don't love learning, you're not open to learning, and you're not open to the world around you, which sets you up for a lot of hurdles, right? And which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do. So, but also then being responsible, individually being responsible, and being responsible to the community of the school and even the larger community. So essential, right? Why are you not wearing your mask? Put up your mask. Why is it important not to wear? So it's not just a matter of don't do this, do this. We said do this, don't do this. It's a matter of questioning why, and a larger part of critical thinking. And the critical thinking at Delano is outstanding. I am very impressed with all accounts on making them responsible to be individual critical thinkers, as well as focused on the community, and why to be a critical thinker for your community as well.
Oh, that's great. Okay. We have a question from a parent guest, and they want to ask Ms. Rovieri this question. So, Ms. Rovieri, the question is, why did you choose private education over public education? What made that choice for you?
I chose private over public because I didn't want my kids to be in big classrooms, number one. I wanted them to have the best education. And they would, I don't know, because I don't come from the public system. My kids don't come from the public system. I was with Delano from day one, but I come from the public system as a child. And I know that my kids would have never got that through going to public system. No offense to the public system or Catholic school boards, but what they get through a private school, especially Delano Academy, they will not get through another school. I think we've all said so much tonight that it goes to show what kind of school they go to.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I have really appreciated this feedback, like I said, because of COVID. It has changed the way I'm able to interact with all of you, but we still find ways to connect and communicate, and I have really appreciated that. Speaking of which, we have another question that I would like to pose to you, and also I would say, if we have been answering questions in the background through the chat, and if anybody has anything that they've been waiting to ask, now is a good time, because we're coming up to the end of our hour. Doesn't mean we're going to suddenly pull the plug, but again, we want to respect everyone's time. So if you had a question that you wanted to ask that you haven't felt you've got an answer for, now is a perfect time to put that in the chat, please. This question is, I can go through our same order, and if you're not sure how to answer, then you can just write to pass. I give that to my students, so I'll give that to my parent panelists. Don't all pass, because I'll end up talking. Nobody wants that at this time of the day. This question, Ms. Proveri, think about this one for you first. Has COVID shaped your opinion of schooling or education for your children? Has COVID changed your opinion of education or schooling?
When you guys went online, I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? My kids are not going to get what they would get in class. Not at all. I've watched you guys online when you guys were closed, and I watched my kids, and you would think kids would fall back from working online. My kids went ahead, which I was so amazed that could even be possible with kids. So that goes a lot to say. And for school now with COVID, no, my kids love coming to school. I thought they would never want to come because the mask thing, so many new changes, and they would be really nervous. No, They get up in the morning, they said, Delano better not close. I need to go to school. I need to see. I need to go. They're all like, are they closing yet? What are the numbers today? I'm like, no, they're not closing. Don't worry. And it's like, oh my God. Like, I thought they would say to me, are we closing yet? I want to stay home. They don't. They want to be at school. Whatever you guys are doing, wow. My kids, and I'm sure other kids, are loving it because they're happy no matter what. And you really would think they would be not happy right now, but they are.
It's fantastic.
And I
Thanks
believe
so much.
that if we had, can I say one more thing? I believe
Yep.
if there was to be another closure, hypothetical, hopefully not for everybody, I would believe that they would be all fine and I would be okay with it because I believe in who you guys are and what you guys provide for these kids.
Oh, thanks. I have another question I'd like to throw out. And we'll see who this question speaks to the most. I can't do what I do in class that when I'm not sure whose hand went up first, I get my kids do rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to answer first. So you'll just try to put your hand up and I'll try to be fair. And if you think I'm not being fair, we can talk about that later. So this is the question that we've got. Can you describe how the school has supported your child's wellness and well-being? So Ms. Bervier, maybe I can give you a break, unless you don't want one. How would you describe, Ms. Pascal Leger, yes, please. How do you feel the school has supported your child's wellness and well-being?
So going back to how one of the words I used to describe Delano was authenticity or being authentic. This is something I can see the school cares about. Wellness Wednesdays was introduced. You know, this is real. This is happening on a regular basis. Time has been carved out specifically for that. And that has been so meaningful. And I love that the commitment was made to that by even the yoga mats for the kids. And my daughter absolutely loved it. So just to seeing again that delivery, you know, we care about this. This is important. And we're going to do something about it. And you're doing it. So that's hats off. I'm so pleased with that. The wellness side is really taken care of, and it's raised in importance and value. And I think the kids can then grow up to value that as well. And I like that.
Would anybody else, before we wrap up, like to speak to that, or because I don't want anybody going away thinking it was unfair? No, I don't see. This is what we know. Okay. Fair enough.
We have another question that I want to respond to. The question from a parent was about how does the school support growth and development in a student who, for example, is shy or introverted or struggles with certain areas of study. And I'll pose this question to any parent that would like to answer if you want to put your hand up. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer the question. Does anybody want to or feel comfortable?
Ooh,
oh, two. This is better than I thought. Okay, so we'll start with Ms. Barbetti and then we'll move to Ms. Bruner. Thank you.
I just want to say that I feel if someone's shy, I'm just going to answer that way. If someone's shy or uncomfortable or new, I feel like my boys, I'm going to speak for my boys. They come home and they say, you know, there's new kids at school and they're really shy. And, you know, we want to make them feel comfortable because we want to make them feel like they're part of us. They never leave them out. They say everyone's so caring. We try to make everybody feel comfortable. And that says a lot because everybody's nervous the first day of school if you're new. So when my kids come home and tell us stories like that, I'm like, that's great. You know, not only I'm sure the teachers are doing that, but if that's the way you guys are making everybody feel, that makes a big difference. Then imagine if you leave or you're part of something new, you would want someone to treat you like that. And they're like, that's why we do what we do at Delano.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ravieri. And Ms. Bruner, did you want to add something to that too?
Yeah, mine is more twofold. The first thing is that on my son's first day back in grade 3, he was assigned a buddy in his class to show him around, show him where the bathrooms are, show him where his lockers are, introduce him, eat lunch with him. that sort of thing. So there was an immediate connection, and that bled into who are you going to play with at recess, and being the idea of being included and having instant friends. So the buddy system worked really well. The following year, when you introduced house teams, that also is really great for the new kids, because now it's not as overwhelming to come in and you're one of 50. Instead, maybe you're one of 15 or 20, and your voice, either through actual speaking or through just body language of just sitting in a circle with your house team. Again, it goes back to the idea of inclusiveness and acceptance, and you're here, you walk in the doors, you are part of this family. And that is very much instilled into the kids, and they pick it up all on their own. And at recess, they all play together as a clump, and they're all together, but the house teams have that bond just to that extra level, and you are immediately part of a family and part of this sense of belonging. So the shyness, you may be a shy kid just by nature, but the shyness of having to meet and make all these new friends dissipates very quickly, because of how the school is just set up to be inclusive and to be oneness, and just whole. So.
Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you. And yes, you know, the system that we have, it's an ambassador system, and every student that comes to the school now, normally pre-COVID, we have a visitation day where students would spend time at the school, and you know, Miss Ligia's daughter came, and she was able to spend time last year and was able to learn about the school and have an opportunity to build those friendships and meet other kids. And what ended up happening was that, you know, we set her up with an ambassador, and she could have anywhere from, you know, 1 to 2 ambassadors that stay with her during snack time and lunchtime and recess time, and really build that relationship, introduce her into different social circles, just to build that connection. And that's really how we try to facilitate that with our students, is to build those relations. And the house team is definitely something that supports that transition. With regards to academics and helping students who are shy or in certain areas of academics, when students come to the school, one of the first things we do is assess and evaluate the students. And we do it in a very child-friendly way that's non-threatening to the student, in order to see where the child is at. And we expect gaps. We do expect that, because kids are coming from different school environments. They're coming from French immersion. They're coming from other private schools. They're coming from you know, traditional learning environments, from public systems. So we don't know what kind of background a child has in definitely within curriculum, but in all areas. And so it's unfair to have a you know, just one level and the child has to fit in. So we differentiate, and having smaller class sizes really support that. We're able to assess the child, see where they're at, where we would like them to be at, and then bridge that gap with supports and through differentiated instruction. And that's one of the you know, privileges of having a small class size, is that teachers are able to differentiate. And you heard Miss Bruner previously speaking about that a little bit when she discussed how her child is in different class grades. Technically, he's in grade 6, but he will move around based on his needs. And this is for all students, based on their individual needs, is they'll be supported where they are. And that may mean and our school works within a pod system. So it's like rotation, like high school, they'll go to different classes to see different teachers. So there's no feeling of stigma of where a child is at. And they feel you know, it's just very normal. It's a very natural process that we have in place, where students move to different classrooms to be in different teaching levels in order to make sure that that instruction is taught at their level, and that they feel, I'm surrounded by peers that are, you know, at the same level as me, and we feel good about it. It builds their self-esteem and self-confidence. So differentiation is something that happens, and it's quite obvious at the school, and the students, they feel so respected because we're able to meet their needs, and it builds their confidence. And once we're able to build their confidence, their learning just soars from there. And there's no more inhibition in terms of, you know, I'm afraid to put up my hand, I don't want to answer, I don't know how I'm going to, you know, be able to do this in school. They're supported. And so that's how we attack things at the school in terms of supporting the shy student or the student who's struggling in certain areas, but also the opposite. If they're enriched in certain areas, they are supported in that. And we make sure, we definitely don't want them to be bored. It's all about ensuring that we're able to meet their needs. So I hope that answers that question from the parent. And at this time we've gone over, what we'd like to do is invite you to contact the school further. We're happy to provide you with a virtual tour, a video virtual tour that we can walk through the school and show you. And then you can learn more, and we can learn more about your child. This would be individual, so we would meet with you one-on-one. And we want to thank, I'd like to thank our panelists, parents, for their honest feedback. And it's heartwarming to hear, and we often don't hear this. So it's really nice to hear this feedback, and much needed for our wellness, because definitely, you know, teaching is often a thankless job. And so it's something we do and we're passionate about and we love. It's very nice to hear this from parents. We should have these events more often so we can hear this, but it's really nice. So I thank our parents for your honest feedback. And I thank the parents for joining us today. This is recorded so that other parents who are unable to attend the event are able to receive, to view this. And I'm sure our kids will set that up in order to have parents reflect on the questions that were asked. But again, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact the school, and we're happy to meet with you individually and go through a virtual tour experience. So thank you everybody for your time and for your evening and for joining us today. And we look forward to meeting your children.